I need to tell you this straight before I lose the nerve again. I thought I got away from it. I really did. I thought once I crossed that last stretch of trees, once the forest thinned out and the road came back into view, it was over. That whatever had been following me, whatever had been pacing me just out of sight, had decided I wasn't worth the effort. I even laughed. Not loudly, not confidently, but enough to convince myself I was safe. That was my mistake. Because the truth is, it was never behind me. It was waiting. And by the time I understood that, by the time I realized what I had actually been hearing all those hours, it was already standing in front of me. And if you're expecting me to say I ran, or fought, or did anything remotely brave, you're going to be disappointed. Because I didn't. I froze. And I've been stuck in that moment ever since. It started simple. That's the part that still bothers me the most. Nothing felt wrong at first. Late afternoon, early autumn, that kind of cold that creeps in quietly, but doesn't bite yet. The forest looked normal. Too normal, maybe. Tall trees, spaced just enough to let the light bleed through in long golden lines. The ground was dry, covered in leaves that cracked softly under every step. I remember noticing that. The sound. It felt comforting, predictable. Every step I took had a response, a rhythm. Until it didn't. About 20 minutes in, I realized something small was off. My footsteps sounded delayed. Not an echo. Something else. Like the forest was thinking before answering. I stopped walking. The sound stopped too, but a second too late. Just enough to make me turn around. Nothing there. Just trees. Just silence pressing in too tightly. I told myself it was nothing. Just nerves, maybe. I hadn't been sleeping well. That's what I said out loud, like saying it would make it true. I kept going. Slower this time, listening harder than I should have. That's when I heard it again. Step. Then another. Not mine. Not exactly matching, but close enough to feel intentional. Like something was trying to learn my rhythm. I remember smiling. Actually smiling. Because I thought it was an animal. A deer, maybe. Something harmless. Something explainable. That small moment of relief. I think about it a lot now. Because that's the last time anything about that day felt normal. The deeper I went, the quieter everything became. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The kind that feels forced. Like the forest was holding its breath. No birds, no wind. Even the leaves under my boots seemed to dull, like the sound was being swallowed before it could fully exist. And underneath that silence, there it was again, that second set of steps. Closer now. Not rushing, not hiding. Just there. I stopped again. This time I didn't turn right away. I listened first. And for a second, just a second, I heard breathing. Low, wet, too heavy to be mine. I spun around so fast I almost slipped. Nothing. Nothing standing there. Nothing moving. But something had changed. The space between the trees behind me felt tighter, like something had just stepped back out of sight. I should have left then. That's the part that doesn't make sense when I replay it. Every instinct should have been screaming at me to go back. But instead, I kept moving forward. Slower, quieter. Like I was trying not to disturb something I couldn't see. Like I already knew I wasn't alone and didn't want to admit it. And then I saw the first sign. Not tracks exactly, more like impressions. Long, narrow, too deep for the shape they held, pressed into the dirt at an angle that didn't match any animal I knew. I crouched down to look at them. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe, or denial. I reached out and hovered my hand over one of them. Didn't touch it, just felt the air above it. It was colder there, not dramatically, but enough to notice. Enough to make me pull my hand back slowly. That's when I heard it again. Right behind me this time. Not footsteps, not breathing. Something else. A shift. Like weight transferring from one limb to another. Heavy. Controlled. Close. I didn't turn right away. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me already knew that turning would make it real. That as long as I didn't look, I could pretend it wasn't there. But I did turn. Slowly. Carefully. And again, nothing. Just the trees. Just the same empty space. But it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt occupied, like something was standing just outside the limits of what I could perceive. Watching. Waiting. That's when the thought hit me, and I almost laughed again, but this time it didn't come out right. Because the idea wasn't comforting anymore. It wasn't a deer. It wasn't anything I could name. And whatever it wasn't trying to hide. It was letting me notice, letting me feel it there without ever showing itself. And that's when I realized something worse. The tracks I had been following weren't leading deeper into the forest. They were circling me. I didn't notice it all at once. That would have been easier, cleaner. A single realization, a clear line between before and after. But it came in pieces. Small, quiet pieces that didn't make sense until they did, and by then it was already too late to pretend I didn't understand. I stood there, still crouched near those impressions in the dirt, and I started looking outward instead of down. Really looking. Not just seeing trees, but spacing, angles, repetition. And that's when it clicked. The marks weren't random. They weren't a trail. They were a pattern, a slow, deliberate circle tightening around me. I straightened up too fast and felt the dizziness hit immediately. Not fear, at least not yet. Something closer to disbelief, like my mind was rejecting the shape of what it was seeing. I turned in place, scanning the forest in a full rotation, and for a second everything looked wrong. Not different, just misaligned, like I had stepped into a version of the woods that wasn't meant to be seen head-on. I swallowed hard and tried to ground myself. Trees, leaves, light. Nothing had changed. That's what I told myself. Nothing had changed, but something had stopped. That second set of steps, it was gone. Completely gone. No echo, no delay, no breathing. The silence came down so fast it felt physical, like pressure against my ears. I remember thinking that this should have felt like relief. If something had been following me, and now it wasn't, that should have been a good thing. But it didn't feel like that at all. It felt like the opposite, like whatever had been out there had finally gotten close enough that it didn't need to move anymore. I took a step back without meaning to, then another. The leaves cracked louder than before, sharp and intrusive, like I was breaking something fragile with every movement. I turned toward the direction I thought I had come from. That was when the first real crack in my composure hit, because the path, if you could call it that, didn't look familiar anymore. It wasn't gone. It just didn't match my memory. The trees seemed denser, the light thinner, like the forest had subtly rearranged itself while I wasn't paying attention. "Okay," I said out loud again. My voice sounded smaller this time, thinner. "Okay, just go back." Simple, logical. That's what I clung to. I started walking, faster now, trying to retrace my steps. But after maybe 10 seconds, 15 at most, I heard it again. Not behind me. Not beside me, in front. One step, heavy, deliberate. Then nothing. I stopped so abruptly my foot slid forward through the leaves. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just listened. The silence stretched, long and suffocating, until I started to wonder if I had imagined it. And then, another step. Same place, same distance. Like it was pacing me, but from the other side now. No, I whispered, and I felt my throat tighten around the word. No, no, no. I turned slowly, scanning ahead, trying to force my eyes to pick up something, anything, that didn't belong. But there was nothing obvious. No movement, no shape. Just the same endless repetition of trunks and shadows. But the feeling was different now. Before it had been behind me, pressing, following. Now it was ahead, blocking, waiting. I took a step forward anyway. I don't know why. Maybe because stopping felt worse. Maybe because some part of me thought if I just kept moving, I could break whatever this was. The ground dipped slightly under my foot, and I stumbled, catching myself on a tree. The bark was colder than it should have been. Damp. I pulled my hand away quickly, wiping it on my jeans without thinking. Another step, closer this time. I flinched so hard my shoulders locked up. That sound, it wasn't trying to match me anymore. It wasn't learning my rhythm. It had its own now. Slow, controlled, certain, and it was coming straight toward me. That's when I saw it. Not clearly, not all at once. Just a break in the pattern, a shape where there shouldn't have been one. Between two trees, maybe 20 feet ahead, something darker than the shadows shifted, just slightly. Enough to catch my eye, enough to make my brain latch onto it and refuse to let go. I stared at that spot, my vision tunneling, everything else falling away. At first I told myself it was a trick of the light. It had to be. The sun was lower now, filtering through at a sharper angle, casting longer shadows. That's all it was. That's all it could be. But then it moved again. Not a step, not a full motion, more like a correction, like something adjusting its posture after being noticed. And the way it did it, that's what broke me. Because it wasn't animal. It wasn't the jerky, uncertain movement of something startled. It was controlled, intentional, a presence aware of itself, a presence aware of me. I felt my legs start to shake, and I locked my knees without thinking, trying to stop it. My breathing got shallow, quick, like my body was preparing to run, even though I hadn't made that decision yet. Every instinct was screaming at me now. Leave, turn around, get out. But I couldn't. I couldn't take my eyes off that space between the trees. Hello? I don't know why I said it. The word felt wrong the second it left my mouth. Too casual, too human. It just hung there in the air, swallowed almost immediately by the silence. For a moment, nothing happened. And then it stepped forward. Just enough for the shape to break free from the trees behind it. Tall. Too tall. The proportions didn't make sense at first. Long limbs, bent slightly in a way that felt wrong for something standing upright. Its head, its head, tilted just slightly to one side, like it was studying me. Not confused, not curious, measuring. I remember noticing the distance between us. 20 feet, maybe a little more. Close enough that if it moved fast, that's when the smell hit me. Wet, rotting, like damp fur left too long in a closed space. It rolled over me in a wave so sudden, I gagged, my eyes watering instantly. I brought a hand up to my face without thinking, but it didn't help. It was already in my lungs, already inside me. The thing didn't move while I reacted. It just stood there, watching. And then, slowly, So slowly I almost didn't register it at first. It straightened a little more, like it had decided I wasn't going anywhere. I wish I could tell you that's when I ran, that something in me snapped back into place and forced my body to move, to choose survival over whatever paralysis had taken hold. But that's not what happened. I stayed there, locked in place, staring at it while it stared back. And the worst part, the part I keep coming back to, is that it didn't feel like a standoff. It felt like I was already caught. Like whatever this was had already decided the outcome, and I was just waiting to understand it. It took another step. The distance between us closed so slightly it shouldn't have mattered, but it did. Because now I could see more of it. Not clearly, never clearly, but enough to fill in the gaps my mind had been trying to protect me from. Its limbs were too long for its body, or maybe its body was too narrow for the limbs. The joints bent in ways that looked almost right until you focused on them, and then everything fell apart. Its arms, if you could call them that, hung low, almost brushing the ground, ending in shapes that weren't quite hands. And its head, I didn't want to look at its face, but I couldn't stop. There was something there that resembled a muzzle, elongated and wrong, but it wasn't the shape that got to me. It was the stillness. No twitching, no shifting, just fixed, deliberate attention. Like it had been waiting for this exact moment longer than I could understand. I tried to speak again, but my voice broke halfway through. My throat felt tight, dry, like the air itself had thickened. I swallowed and tried to step back, but my foot caught on something, and I stumbled, the sudden movement loud and clumsy in the silence. That's when it reacted, not aggressively, not the way you'd expect. It didn't lunge, it didn't rush me, it just adjusted. Its head tilted the other way this time, a mirrored motion, like it was correcting an angle. And its body shifted forward just a fraction more, controlled, patient. That's when I understood something that made everything worse. It wasn't chasing me, it was hurting me. The circle of tracks, the way it had stayed just out of sight, the way it had moved from behind me to in front without me ever seeing it pass. It hadn't been trying to catch me. It had been guiding me, positioning me, bringing me here, this exact spot, for a reason I couldn't even begin to grasp. No, I said again, but it came out quieter this time. Not denial anymore, something closer to realization. My eyes flicked past it for a second, scanning the space behind its shape, and that's when I saw it. Another set of those impressions in the dirt. Deeper, fresher, leading not toward me, but past me. My stomach dropped. It wasn't done moving me. It took another step forward, and this time the sound was unmistakable. A heavy, wet compression of earth that didn't match its size. Too much weight, too much presence for the shape it carried. And with that step, something inside me finally broke loose. Not courage, not strength, just instinct. I turned and ran. I didn't think. I didn't choose a direction. I just moved. Branches snapped against my arms, leaves tore under my feet, and the forest that had felt so still before suddenly exploded with sound. My breathing came in sharp, uneven bursts, loud in my own ears, drowning out everything else. For a few seconds, maybe longer, I couldn't hear it behind me, and that gave me just enough hope to push harder. Then I heard it. Not chasing, keeping pace. Off to my side at first, matching me step for step, just out of view. Then behind. Then ahead again, like it was folding space in ways my mind couldn't track. Every time I thought I had a clear direction, I'd hear it shift, cutting me off before I even realized where I was going. I tried to change direction sharply, veering left through a cluster of thinner trees, my shoulder clipping one hard enough to send a spike of pain down my arm. I barely felt it. Adrenaline had taken over now, dulling everything except the need to keep moving. But the forest wasn't opening up. It was tightening. The trees grew closer together, the ground uneven, roots twisting up through the soil like something trying to trip me. I stumbled again, caught myself, kept going. My lungs burned. My legs started to feel heavy, slower, like the ground was pulling at me with every step. And then I saw the road, a strip of dull gray cutting through the trees ahead, maybe 30 feet away. Open space. Escape. The sight of it hit me so hard, I almost laughed again, the sound bubbling up out of sheer disbelief. I pushed harder, ignoring the pain, ignoring the way my vision started to narrow at the edges. Just a little more. Just a few more steps. The trees began to thin, the light widening, the air feeling different, cleaner somehow. I could already imagine stepping onto that road, turning back, seeing nothing behind me. Convincing myself this had all been something I could forget, something I could leave here. I crossed the last line of trees. My foot hit the edge of the road, and I stopped. Not because I chose to, because something was already there. Standing in the middle of the road, exactly where I needed to go, was the same shape. Closer now, clearer, waiting. And behind me, I heard the other one take a step out of the trees. What broke me wasn't seeing it in front of me. It was understanding there were two of them, one ahead, one behind. And for a second, just a second, I thought maybe I could still choose, left or right, forward or back, like it was some kind of test I could pass if I moved fast enough. But the second I shifted my weight, the one in the road tilted its head again, and something about that small movement made it clear. There was no correct direction. This wasn't a trap you escaped. It was one you completed. I stepped backward without thinking, just a single step, and the one behind me answered immediately. Closer. Not rushing, just closing the distance enough to remind me it was there. My chest tightened, breath coming shorter now, sharper, like my body was trying to prepare for something it already knew it couldn't survive. I turned my head slightly, just enough to catch movement in my peripheral vision, and I saw it. The one behind me emerging fully from the trees. Same height, same shape, same wrong proportions, but not identical. The way it stood was different, lower, slightly hunched, like it was ready to move faster if it needed to. That's when the thought hit me, and it didn't feel like panic. It felt like clarity. They weren't just working together. They had roles, one to stop, one to push, and I was exactly where they wanted me. I tried to step sideways, slow, careful, like I wasn't committing to anything. The one in the road didn't move, but the one behind me did, just enough to shift the angle, cutting that option off before I could even test it. My throat tightened again, and this time I didn't try to speak. There was nothing to say, nothing that would matter. I looked back at the road, at the one waiting there, and for a second I saw something change, not in its body, but in the space around it. Like the air itself bent slightly, warping the distance between us. And then it stepped forward, not toward me, past the center of the road, as if it was clearing a path, not blocking anymore, guiding again. That's when I understood the next part. They didn't want me dead, not yet. They wanted me to go somewhere, and whatever was waiting there was worse than this. I don't remember deciding to move. My body just did it. Forward, onto the road. Each step felt wrong, like I was walking into something I couldn't see yet. The one that had been in front of me moved aside just enough to let me pass, its presence brushing the edge of my awareness so strongly I had to fight the urge to flinch away. I kept my eyes forward. I didn't look at it again. I couldn't. Behind me, I could still hear the other one, matching my pace from the tree line, never getting closer, never falling back. Just there. I walked like that for longer than I can measure now. Seconds, minutes. It doesn't matter. Time didn't feel right anymore. The road stretched out ahead, too straight, too empty, like it had been placed there just for this. And the forest on either side stayed unnaturally still, like everything inside it was watching without moving. Then the smell came back. Stronger this time, thicker. Not just behind me, not just to the sides, but ahead. I slowed without meaning to, my body resisting before my mind could catch up. And that's when I saw it. The third one. Not stepping out, not emerging, just already there. Further down the road, standing in the exact center. Taller than the others, broader. Its shape more solid somehow, less uncertain. And unlike the others, it didn't tilt its head. It didn't study me. It didn't move at all. It just faced me directly, waiting. The two behind and beside me didn't need to do anything. I stopped on my own. Every instinct in me screamed to turn around, to run back into the trees, to choose the chaos over whatever this was. But I knew it wouldn't matter. They would just reposition, adjust, guide me again. The realization settled in slowly, heavily, like something sinking into place. I wasn't being hunted. I was being delivered. I tried to think. I really did. Some plan, some way out. But every idea fell apart the second it formed. Run? They were faster. Hide? They already knew where I was. Fight? The thought barely even registered before disappearing completely. My hands shook at my sides, useless, empty. I looked down for a second, just to break eye contact with the thing ahead, and that's when I saw the marks again. Not scattered this time, not circling. A single line, deep, repeated, leading straight toward where I was standing, and stopping right at my feet, like I had been brought to the end of something, like this was the final position. My stomach twisted hard enough to make me double over slightly, a wave of nausea hitting me out of nowhere. And in that moment, when my eyes dropped, when my focus broke, I heard it. Movement. Fast. Not running. Not charging. Something else. A sudden shift in space that didn't match the sound it made. I snapped my head up, and it was closer. The one ahead, much closer than it should have been. The distance had collapsed without any visible motion, like it had simply decided to be nearer. My breath caught in my throat, a sharp, involuntary sound, and I stumbled back a step. That was the first real reaction it got from me. And something about that mattered. Because for the first time, just for a second, I felt something change in the air around it. Not emotion, not intent I could name, but awareness, like it had been waiting for that exact response. And then everything happened at once. The one behind me moved forward, fast enough that I heard the ground tear under its weight. The one to the side closed in just enough to seal whatever space I thought I had left. And the one in front took a single step, heavy, final. I tried to move, I really did, but my body locked again, the same paralysis from before crashing back even harder. My vision tunneled, narrowing down to that shape in front of me, every other detail fading out. The smell was overwhelming now, thick in my lungs, making it hard to breathe, hard to think. And then it lowered its head, not aggressive, not rushed, just enough to bring its face closer to mine, close enough that I could see the details I had been spared before. The texture, the unnatural stillness, and its eyes. That's the part I can't explain. Not glowing, not empty, just aware in a way that didn't feel animal, didn't feel human either. Something else entirely, something that understood me completely in that moment. And I swear, this is the part I keep replaying, I swear it wasn't looking at me like prey. It was looking at me like something being evaluated, like it was deciding something. And whatever that decision was, it wasn't good. I don't remember falling. I don't remember the exact moment my body gave out, or how I ended up on the ground. 1 second I was standing there, locked in that stare, and the next everything tilted sideways, and the road was against my cheek, cold and rough. The world didn't go black. That would have been easier. It just dimmed, like someone had lowered the brightness on everything except them. I could still hear, still smell, still feel the vibration of their movement through the ground around me. But I couldn't move, not even enough to push myself up. My fingers twitched once, weakly, and that was it. The rest of me might as well have not existed. I heard them shifting positions, slow, coordinated. The one that had been in front of me moved slightly to the side, and the others adjusted with it, forming something I couldn't fully see from where I lay, but I could feel it. A shape, a pattern, not random, never random. And then the sound stopped again, complete silence. Even my own breathing felt distant, like it didn't belong to me anymore. Time stretched. I don't know how long I lay there. Seconds, minutes. It lost meaning. The only thing that stayed consistent was that feeling of being watched. Not aggressively, not urgently, just observed. Like I'd become something to study instead of something to chase. And that realization did something to me. The fear didn't go away, but it changed. It sank deeper, became heavier, more permanent. Because it meant this wasn't over. Not really. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't finished. Eventually, the pressure in the air shifted again. Subtle, but enough. I felt it before I heard anything. And then, one by one, the sounds of their movement returned. Not toward me. Away. Slow steps, receding into the trees, into the edges of the road, into places I couldn't see anymore. I waited for something else. A final movement. A return. But it didn't come. The silence settled back in, this time different. Empty in a way it hadn't been before. And still, I didn't move. Because I knew, somehow, without understanding how, that just because I couldn't hear them anymore, didn't mean they were gone. I got up eventually. I don't remember deciding to do that either. My body just started working again. Slow at first. Hands pushing against the road, legs unsteady, head spinning. The forest looked the same as before. The road stretched out in both directions like nothing had happened. If someone had driven past in that moment, they would have seen a person standing there, shaken maybe, dirty, but otherwise fine. And that's the part that stays with me the most, how normal everything looked after. I walked, not ran, just walked. Away from that spot, away from the trees, away from the feeling that something was still just out of sight. I didn't look back. Not once. I didn't need to, because I could still feel them. Not physically, not like footsteps or breathing anymore. Something else. Something quieter. Like a memory that didn't belong to me. Like a presence that had already decided it didn't need to hide anymore. And here's the part you're probably waiting for. The part where I tell you I never went back, that I stayed away from forests, that I learned my lesson. I didn't. Because a few nights later, when I was lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself it was over, I heard it again. One step. Not outside, inside.